This episode of Indy Spotlight is brought to you by Strong Coffee Company. Go to strongcoffeecompany.com, use the promo code ATI Wrestling, and get 20% off on any products. So how did the Vyra character come about? Like, how did you channel yourself into this? What inspired this?
So, if you see my name or say my name, the last name LeStrange, is kind of in correlation with Harry Potter, and
Oh my God.
I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and I was getting ready to make my debut, but I didn't really have anything going for me. Like they always say, take a part of yourself that's true and then crank it up by 100. But me, I'm kind of I don't think there's anything that interesting about me. But one night I was watching Harry Potter, and I believe it was the Order of the Phoenix, and Bellatrix Lestrange has always been like my favorite character. In a way, I always related to her. And the more I just was paying attention to it, I was like, you know what? I kind of relate to this. I feel a connection with her. I bet I could take her as my inspiration, but make her mine, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it perfectly does. All right, we got where you got Lestrange. What about Vyra? Where did that come from? That's a unique name. That's like a 70s kind of horror flick name, kind of.
Yeah. So, couldn't really come up with anything for the first name. So I got on Google, and this is going to sound really cheesy, but I was typing up like you said, just said horror movie names, like witchy names, like names that are unique and stand out. And one of the names that came across was Elvira, but Elvira had been used a long, long time ago. But why not just shorten it to Vyra?
Hey,
Mm.
I mean that works perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's how you come up with the combination of your name Harry Potter, which is, my sister. God, I can remember now. This is back before the movies even come out. That she would sit in her room and read all these books and tell me about how good they were and great and blah blah blah. And I just her between her and my wife, they're Harry Potter fanatics. I'm just not. I I barely watched the first one, and my wife just don't understand. She's like, "How can we stay married if you can't watch Harry Potter?" And I'm just like, "Look, I'm into mafia stuff and wrestling, so it's just not going to work for me." But
Right.
so you were trained by Scott Armstrong, correct? And
Correct.
how did that start? Like, what made you decide, hey, I'm going to be a wrestler today?
So my wrestling background is rather unique. Um, so when I was 13, that's when I actually very first got in the ring. Um, by how do I say this? So my mom was manager at Dollar General, and she had just hired this lady. Her name was Kelly. And she had a son who was a little bit older than me, but we were both homeschooled, didn't have a lot of friends. So they thought it would be a great idea for us to like start hanging out. And me being a huge wrestling fan at the time, and her husband was Mountain Man Richard Bailey. So I would go to his house. We would go. He would take me to all the indie shows, and I essentially kind of lived with them for a little bit because I never wanted to go home. And one night during a training session at his house, he told me to get in the ring, and I did. I was good at it. I fell in love with it, and I had my first match right after my 14th birthday. But right after that happened, there was a lot of, oh, she's 14, she can't get back in the ring, and blah, blah, blah. So I stepped to the side, and life happened. And then about the time I was 20, I started training under someone else. I'm not going to mention his name. There was a big difference of opinions. I guess the way I learned versus the way he taught just didn't clash well together. And so there were just things happening at that training facility that I do not agree with. And it kind of ruined my love for wrestling. So I quit watching it. I swore to myself I would never get involved ever again whatsoever. And I didn't for about 4 years until I think WWE came to Mobile to do a like a house show at the Civic Center. And my uncle and my grandma, who are the biggest wrestling fans I have ever met, they were so excited, and my uncle didn't know that I wasn't really into wrestling anymore. So he bought me a ticket, and he was like, "Here's your ticket. We're going." And I didn't have the heart to say I didn't really want to go. So I went, and it ended up being fun. Took some pictures, posted on social media, and the Rainbow Warrior, Josh Payne, uh, that's who I started under back because he had messaged me. He's like, "Look, I'm about to start training up at my house. I really think you should come. We're going to need more girls." And at first I said no. And he's like, "Well, just think about it. Come give it a try. If you don't like it, that's fine, but we'll go at your own pace." So that's exactly what happened. And I started training under him for a little bit, but there weren't a lot of other students, and I ended up being the only one left. And so I kind of had to put training on hold for a while simply because I didn't have anyone to work with. And then he told me to go over to Diamond Championship Wrestling, and because he felt I could benefit from that a lot more than what he could just do in his backyard at his house. And so he got me set up over at Diamond, and then we both ended up over there. So that's kind of how it happened.
Yeah, I saw, matter of fact, I saw Josh just the other night at Battlezone. He was being inducted into the Battlezone Hall of Fame, which, we've been around. And, what's funny is I got there to Battlezone. I'll tell a little story real quick. That's the first time I've been to a wrestling show as a fan in years, just to go and watch. And me and the wife sit down, and as soon as I sit down, I saw Josh walk in. I was like, I had not looked at anything. I know the promoter and whatnot at Battlezone. Didn't even tell him I was coming. I just showed up. And I saw Josh, and I was like, are they having a cage match here or something tonight? Looking around, and then all of a sudden he comes out. He sees me. We shake hands. We're talking. Oh, they're giving me an award. I said, oh, so you're going to be a part of the Battlezone Hall of Fame deal. He's like, yeah. And so he sat right there by me and my wife, and we talked for a little while, and then he went and accepted, the awards. It was good seeing him. I had not seen him in a while, and it was just great seeing him. Now, when you got to Diamond and you started training with Scott, now what's Scott like? What I mean, because we all know the Armstrong family. They're royalty in the South. Bullet Bob, Brian. You got Scott. I mean, you got them all. Brad. Brad was one of my favorites. Brad, he could out wrestle anybody in the Armstrong family, maybe outside Bullet Bob. But Brad just, man, I used to love watching him on WCW Saturday night because he always just took it to the next level. But what was it like being around Scott, like wrestling royalty in the South?
Uh, it's better than I. There are no words to describe just how amazing being around him is. I mean, he's been at the top of the top, and he has essentially been around the business his whole life, so he knows everything there is to know.
Well, he was
And
born
he's,
into the business. He
yeah,
he came in a cradle. It was shaped like a wrestling ring. That's how he come in.
right. But I mean, he's just so kind, so down to earth, and very patient, very funny. Like, and he's just so willing to help others. Like, for someone at his age to be at the level that he's at, a lot of other people would not even consider training a bunch of kids that know nothing about the business. But no, he's the best, and the way he explains things, it's in a way that you should, like a kindergartner would understand it almost. Like he just makes it seem that simple.
So he breaks it down pretty, I mean, just pretty easy for you. It's all the way down to where, even an ant can learn it. So,
Right.
well, here's another question I got. We talk about Southern royalty, we talk about, the Armstrong family, and being around Scott, you know, has got to have some perks with it there. How does he, how does he run everything at DCW with what he does around there? Because I know he does a lot.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you the same thing he says. He tries to run it the exact same way WWE does. And I don't know, I've never been to WWE, but I feel like it would be pretty close just by the way, because we're trained to work a hard cam. We're trained to do absolutely everything by the book that WWE does, just on a smaller scale. And you're not going to get that nowhere else around here. Like,
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And working with like Scott, doing the Armstrong deal, because like I said, they're royalty. I'll go ahead and tell a little story. I did a deal with Bullet Bob, and it's been many years ago. Gosh, I mean, I don't know if I should give my age on it, but I was young because it was back in the day. Buff Bagwell and Bullet Bob. Bullet Bob was running the show. Buff Bagwell was on the show. They came to Meridian, Mississippi, which is where I live. They ran a show at the Ag Center, and I actually got to be a part of it. Not like a part of the show, but I was there to set up chairs, help with the ring, do whatever was needed, clean up, and I got to do a lot of things. As a matter of fact, I would dig it up right now, but I got a Buff Bagwell hat that he gave me. It was Buff the Stuff NWO hat, and he gave me a pair of tights that was yellow, and it was Buff the Stuff on it for helping out. And I was like, man, this is awesome. And I still got it over there. I'm just not going to dig through it because we just had kittens, and I'm not going to go through the whole deal to get over there to get it. But I'll show it some other time. But anyway, I helped on the show, and I just remember Bullet Bob telling everybody in the back, how much he appreciated it. I mean, you could just see the genuine care that he cared about the business. And I know Scott, he's been at the top of the pinnacle. He's done a lot. And now he's been helping with DCW and doing stuff there. Speaking of DCW, how's everything going in DCW? Now, how's Brent doing? I hadn't seen Brent in a while.
he's doing pretty good. His wife just had their second daughter, so he's been pretty busy. He's got two under two, and he's got a lot on his plate at the moment, but he's doing pretty good.
I just wanted to, like, with that storytelling about Bullet Bob, was just how much they care about the business. And being with Bullet Bob and learning under his tree, that was great. It's just the Armstrongs are like royalty in independent wrestling and all over. And it's just, you got to love it. And so now you've been DCW Women's Champion, right? I mean, you even lost your title to a fan or something. Was that correct?
Yeah, she stole it.
You got fans are stealing stuff now. What I didn't, used to fans couldn't come across the barricades. Now they're still entitled. What's up with that?
That's a great question to ask Scott, because
I
I'd like
mean,
to know.
well, I'm gonna get a lawyer. If I was you, have you ever heard of the brilliant one, the manager?
Yeah,
Myself,
yeah.
I've got lawyers left and right. Okay, that would not fly with me.
I know
Okay, I'd
now.
sue for a
And
lot
then she
less.
had the after she stole my championship, she had the audacity to vacate it, and then they gave her the position as general manager.
And she probably can't even spell general manager.
No, she can't.
I mean, that's the problem. You got to look at it this way. Okay. When you get into a situation like that, because I've been in these situations, okay? When you get into situations like this, you have got to get you a lawyer. See, I got Richard Noah good. That's my family lawyer. He has gotten me out of so many things. That should not have been allowed. Okay? A fan jumping over a barricade and winning a championship makes no sense whatsoever. Okay? That is illegal. That is what that is.
It is
And you
very
need to put,
illegal.
yes, you need to put that forth. Because see, what happened was he messed up, or I'm sorry, she messed up your streak. She messed up your streak as a champion. That should
But
not be allowed.
I know, and she vacated it, and then she's making me work for it on the pay-per-view at Ante Up. I mean, if you're going to vacate it, at least give it back to the person you stole it from.
Well, it should have been vacated to start with. I mean, yeah, she stole it from you. As a matter of fact, what should have been done was, whoever in DCW management should have took this upon themselves to press charges against this lady who jumped in the ring unwarranted and stole your belt. But yet they celebrate her. And in my opinion, that's just
Not,
a
not
that's an
only did she
atrocity.
steal it, she sprayed me with hairspray. I still can't see straight.
That's assault.
It is
You
very
can
much
file
assault.
you can file you can file charges on that, and you know what, we're going to talk, we'll talk off camera about this. We'll talk off camera about that. I don't want to give any legal advantage to DCW or them over there in management
Well,
to
believe me, they haven't heard the end of it. I'm getting my championship
uh,
back.
oh yeah, you are
And
now,
I'm getting
like
my
I said.
revenge on Johanna.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll talk off camera about this so they don't know our strategy, and you'll get your DCW championship back. But I just can't see what I don't understand is, we was talking good about Scott Armstrong, right? But now we're sitting here and we got a dilemma because Scott allowed this to happen.
You
He's
know, this
allowed.
isn't the first time I've been screwed over by DCW management. I don't know if
Now
they
he
have.
should know better than this.
I mean, when I debuted, I wasn't even technically allowed to debut. I had to take matters into my own hands, form my own group, and the only way I could get anyone's attention was by slapping Scott and then destroying the ring.
That I mean, sometimes you got to do that, you know.
And then I'm seen as the bad guy because no one wants to give me the credit that I deserve.
Well, you should not be held down. That's the problem. And they held you down. Don't feel bad about that. Now, as you got into it with DCW, like tell the listeners how you won the championship the first time. Because you was talking about it just now, so go ahead and spew it out.
I mean, the first time I had to come up with a plan. I knew they weren't going to let me win it the way I was supposed to or the way I was owed. So, like I said, I was the leader of my own faction, the Hidden Gems. If you're going to be in a faction, you got to know how to use them.
The
And
hidden gems.
my mentality was, yeah, we're the Hidden Gems, but if I have gold around my waist, how can I possibly be hidden? So, once again, we devised a plan. One of them distracted Sid Silver, who was the champion at the time. And I just saw the opportunity and I took it. And I
Hey,
won the championship in my debut match in under 20 seconds.
hey, that's the way you do it. That's the way you do it. Now let me ask you this. We're gonna get towards closing out here in a minute, but there's a couple of things I want to hit on. Tell me who was some of your inspirations growing up into the wrestling business.
Shawn Michaels and Mickie James. They are my goats.
I'm telling you, Shawn Michaels was one of my favorites. Now, when I say Shawn Michaels, I don't mean the 2008 or the 2007 Shawn Michaels. I mean the 1994, the 95, the 93, Shawn Michaels, which I grew up on. I grew up on Shawn Michaels with the Rockers, Marty Jannetty, back in the 80s and the early 90s. I can remember when Shawn Michaels threw Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window, and when I was on, I thought that was the greatest thing ever. I was a big fan of Shawn Michaels when he came out as Sherry, Sensational Sherry, one of the greatest women's wrestlers and just talents in wrestling, period, at WrestleMania 8. I can remember when they got together. It was just great. That's the Shawn Michaels I remember. Mickey James, I'm sure we remember the same Mickey James. But when was you first introduced to Shawn Michaels?
So I started watching wrestling around 2009, I believe. I remember it was Triple H. He was in a feud with the Legacy, and
Oh, the kick to
he,
the head, Randy Orton back then. That's when he did the punt, right?
yeah, and I remember like Legacy had just beat up on Triple H, and then he cut a promo saying he needed to make a phone call talking about Shawn Michaels. And the first time I actually ever saw Shawn Michaels was that whole segment they did. Shawn was working the grill as a chef.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's the
yes.
first time I ever like
At the
saw laid
airport
my
or
eyes on
something,
Shawn
wasn't it?
Michaels. Was it?
Was it the Shawn Michaels cooking on the grill in the airport like deal? Was that the one?
No, it was the one. It wasn't the airport, but like he super kicked a little girl, like the boss's
Oh
daughter.
yes, 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 yes. I remember now.
Yeah, but I remember that segment too. But that was the first time I ever like laid my eyes on Shawn Michaels, and then my uncle, who I mentioned earlier, he gave me a bunch of like the old wrestling tapes, like going back to like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And he kind of like fed my wrestling addiction at that point because he was just handing me tapes left and right. So I went back, like me being 9 years old, going back and watching all these videos. One of the VHS tapes had been played so many times. As soon as I put it in the cassette player, all the film just came out.
So it was onion thin skin. So yeah, I mean that I can remember, you know, watching VHS tapes all the time. Um, I actually have some that I just ran into the ground, and I know it was like Super Tape '91 and Bash, Great American Bash 1988 and stuff like that. I mean, I still got the VHS, but there is no film in there because I just run it dry. So, all right. So now I want to move on to something else. Like on these segments, I'm trying to bring different stuff and different questions and stuff. So I want to bring the first thing I want to do is since you've been in independent wrestling, which independent wrestling is great. What is one of your favorite matches that you've seen on the independent scene that you was not involved in?
Gosh. So Diamond Championship Wrestling, we have an insane amount of talent, and um, two of our easily two of our top guys, Jack Passion, Buzz Albinelli. Um, I don't think they've had a match I've seen that I didn't like. Um, they did a cage match a couple months ago. Any match that them two worked together, I was hooked the whole time. Jack Passion versus Fuego del Sol was one of my favorites.
I love
Um,
Fuego.
Fuego's great.
Yeah, he really is. I had when I was owner of AWA, and I had Fuego come in for the Mississippi Rumble. It was last year. It's been a little over a year. Man, nothing but greatness. Him and John Taylor. No remorse John Taylor had. I'll put that match that him and John Taylor had against anything, not only on the independent scene, but on any major promotion. they just tore the house down. John Taylor is an exceptional talent. I've enjoyed managing John Taylor over the few years that I managed him, and to see him take on Fuego del Sol in a match that they tore the house down. It was a great one. All right, so we're going to get to the last part of the show, and I'm going to mention three names, and I want you to give me your honest opinion on all three names. They're going to be from different parts of the independent scene. If you don't know them, you can just say I know, and we'll go from there. First
Okay.
one I want to say is, since we're in women's wrestling, and I know you know this name because you was actually in the ring with her, Cassandra Golden. What's your thoughts on Cassandra Golden?
She's talented all the way around, super kind, super professional, and she deserves to be where she's at right now. Tough opponent, great to work with.
Yes, I've been watching Cassandra for a while. I've seen her back many, many years ago. She is BIW's women's champion, and she's tearing it up over there. She's just all over. And so Cassandra is great. Next up, it's a name that I'm sure you've seen, heard, and said many times. I don't like saying the name, but I'll say it. Walter the Worm Alexander.
Oh, I love Walter. He's
Oh, I'm
great.
sorry. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead.
he's he's one of my best friends. And he's always never hesitated to help when and where it's needed. And he definitely strives to do better. So I got a lot of respect for him. He's got a lot of guts. He's very brave. And
I don't know if he can spell brave, but okay.
he's definitely evolved over the past couple years since I first met him. When he did the boxing match, that shocked me. I never would have imagined thought of him doing something like that. So I just hope he continues to do better. And since he's a booker now, I hope I have nothing but high hopes for him and hope he does well.
Well, I guess we're going to get 3 out of 3 because I know since you know who Cassandra Golden is, you know the worm. You're definitely going to know one of my former guests and one of my former clients and one of my good friends, Mac Daddy Duds. What's your thoughts on Mac Daddy?
Very loud.
Loud? No, he's not loud. He's not
When
loud. He's just he's got a lot of wisdom and it just
he,
comes out loud.
yeah, but no, he's great. He's never failed to make me laugh. One of the trainers now at Diamond. You can definitely learn a lot from him. He's great. He's funny, and he's very entertaining to watch in the ring.
One of my favorites, man. I'm gonna just. I know this is about you, but I'm just gonna put a story out there about Mac Daddy. Mac Daddy was one of my first guests on King of Wrestling podcast, which was my old podcast. We're on a indie spot or indie limelight on around the indies now. But King of Wrestling podcast was one of my first podcasts, and Mac Daddy was on it. He was like my second guest or so, and that's how we met. And it went from me interviewing him on the podcast to going to the shows. We hooked up, and then next thing you know, I'm a manager in wrestling, and he's one of my clients. So me and Mac Daddy have had a history for a long time, and we've always got along, and we've been through the thick and thin. We've been through the first Diamond Championship Wrestling, and me and him was also on the second Diamond Championship Wrestling, which is what is known now. I managed him, like I said, on the first part of the Diamond and second part of Diamond as well. So I mean, I've been around Mac Daddy and with him at AWA and wherever else we went, AWF, I don't know, everywhere. but I have nothing but respect for him. And as a matter of fact, he was my first guest on Around the Indies. Did you see that episode?
I did not. I know he mentioned it, but I haven't like seen like a link or anything to it.
Shame on you. Shame on you. We're gonna. I'll get you a link. Don't worry. But thank you so much for coming on. What I want to do is now the floor is yours. Any social media or any shows you want to plug, the floor is yours.
Social media, it's kind of essentially all the same. It's Vyra underscore LeStrange. Vyra spelled Vyra, and then LeStrange. Look it up.
No, 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 ma'am. You've got to spell Lestrange because there's a reason behind this, and I'm not going to say what the reason is, but I
I know
think
what the
you.
reason is.
All right, go ahead and spell it.
It's LeStrange.
All right, there you go. Now, I'm glad you spelled it out for the listeners, okay? Because most of them they don't know how to spell. You have to break it down for them. So, we'll go from there on that.
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming on. I
And
hope
also,
you.
before I forget, Friday, April 18th at the Bullet Bob Armstrong Memorial Arena, we will be having pay per view live. There will be a link to it. Ante up ahead of WrestleMania weekend. So be sure to either watch it at home or come to the Bullet and check it out. It'll be a great show, especially since I'll be in there. And I will be getting my championship back.
Now, how much is tickets for this show?
I believe general admission is 12 and ringside is 17. And if you look on Diamond's page, there will be VIP tables. I believe those run about 90.
Okay. So you can get in to the DCW pay-per-view ante up for free. Just go down in the Bullet Bob Armstrong Memorial Arena and you're going to get in for, I'm just joking. But thank you for joining us, Vyra. I had a blast. I hope you enjoyed the show.
No, it was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
No problem. All right. So check us out. We're doing interviews for Indy LimeLight each and every week. Make sure you check them out. We'll see you later. Thank you, Byra, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.